歡迎大家嚟到今日嘅
Welcome to today's press conference, first photo call.
好，唔該，好，影多張。可以啦，唔該。好，我哋
Let's invite the panelists to get on stage.
歡迎大家嚟到
Welcome to the press conference on Action Plan on Green Maritime Fuel Bunkering. We have with us Mr. Lam Sai-hung, Secretary for Transport and Logistics, Ms. Mabel Chen, Permanent Secretary for Transport and Logistics, Mr. Wong Sai-fa, Director of Marine, Ms. Amy Chen, the Commissioner for Maritime and Port Development and Deputy Secretary for Transport and Logistics, as well as Mr. Alan Low, Deputy Secretary for Environment and Ecology Environment. We'll first hear from the Secretary for Transport and Logistics before we hear from the Commissioner. Afterwards, there will be a question and answer session. Secretary. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to announce today the Action Plan on Green Maritime Fuel Bunkering. By setting out clear strategies and actions, we aim to promote Hong Kong as a high-quality green maritime fuel bunkering centre. The IMO, International Maritime Organization, has set a target to achieve net zero carbon emission from international shipping by or around 2050. The sector has, since then, started to switch to using low-carbon or zero-carbon green maritime fuel to meet the rising international standards and ESG, environment, social and governance responsibilities. The 14th five-year plan of our country supports Hong Kong in enhancing its status as an international shipping centre. Targets on significant issues such as carbon peak and carbon neutrality have also been set. Being an associate member of the IMO, Hong Kong has the duty to follow the IMO's target. To dovetail the development of our country and adapt to the new age of maritime green transformation, Hong Kong needs to expedite the development of green maritime fuel bunkering, respond to market needs, play the role of a major bunkering port, and enhance Hong Kong's competitiveness as an international shipping centre. Hong Kong has rich experience in fuel bunkering service. We are one of the major bunkering centers in the world. In 2023, we ranked 7th among the world's top 10 centers. Data tells us that besides cargo loading and unloading, bunkering is a main reason for ocean-going vessels to visit Hong Kong. This is because Hong Kong is well connected to the world. We are an international shipping center and one of the busiest container terminals in the world. Hong Kong is at the southern tip of South China and close to international shipping routes, which give us a geographical advantage. With the support of our country, we're well equipped to build a stable green maritime fuel supply chain and become a green maritime fuel bunkering center. The Chief Executive announced in the 2023 policy address the development of Hong Kong into a green maritime fuel bunkering center. The Transport and Logistics Bureau and the Environment and Ecology Bureau commenced a feasibility study. In the formulation of the action plan, reference has been drawn from international experience and current market condition. The Maritime and Port Board and stakeholders have been consulted. The action plan sets a number of targets, including the IMO goal of net zero carbon emission by or around 2050, reduction of emission from Hong Kong registered ships by at least 11%, and switching 55% of diesel-fueled vessels in the government fleet to green maritime fuels by 2026. This also includes the reduction of carbon emission from the Kuaiting container terminals by 30% and take-up rate of 7% of green maritime fuels by Hong Kong registered ships by 2030. These targets show that Hong Kong is a responsible entity. We strive to reach or exceed the basic requirements of the IMO and help to enhance the high quality reputation of Hong Kong registered fleet. To achieve the above targets, the action plan sets out 5 green-centric strategies and 10 actions to develop Hong Kong into a green maritime fuel bunkering center. Our goal is to encourage the sector to provide this service to support the green transformation of the shipping sector. The action plan is a manifesto of the SAR government's commitment to develop green maritime bunkering. It also provides a clear direction and goals for green transformation of the international shipping industry. We will continue to work with stakeholders to implement the actions under the plan to develop Hong Kong into a prime green maritime fuel bunkering and trading center of the region so that we can contribute towards emission reduction. Lastly, I'd like to express my heartfelt gratitude to members of the Hong Kong Marine and Port Board and stakeholders for their valuable comments in the formulation of the action plan. I'll now ask Ms. Amy Chan, Deputy Secretary of the TLB, to give you details of the action plan. Thank you, Secretary. Good afternoon. I will give you details of the action plan. The shipping sector emits carbon at a volume that is 3% of global carbon emission. We would like to reduce the impact of carbon emission and to meet the Paris Agreement of limiting temperature increase to under 1.5 degrees Celsius as set out. We would like to reach net zero carbon emission by 2050, which is the target of the IMO. We think that the medium-term measure will be launched in 2027. Actually, these measures comes in many different forms. Say, for example, energy-saving technology, replacement of vessels, and smart maritime technologies to better plan and run shipping routes. However, the most effective way is switching to green maritime fuel. That's why we promote the use of green maritime fuel. we are an associate member of the IMO. We have the duty to follow the emission reduction target of the IMO, and we also need to strengthen our position as an international shipping center. In the 14th five-year plan, the country has already set targets in relation to carbon peak as well as carbon neutrality. There are also action plans formulated. The major direction is to encourage the trade to use green and low carbon fuel. We will dovetail the country's measure. Over the years, we have launched a number of green port measures. We are also one of the first ports to require ocean-going vessels to switch to low-sulfur fuel in Asia. In order to maintain our competitiveness and to follow the international trend, the Chief Executive has, in the 2023 policy address, announced that Hong Kong will be developed into a green maritime fuel bunkering center. The TLB as well as the EEB have worked together to conduct a feasibility study. We now have this action plan to help transformation of the sector. The majority of green fuel, green maritime fuel, uses biomass and waste or chemically synthesized products using renewable energy. For these methods, in their life cycle, the carbon emission is lower. Currently, we have biodiesel, green methanol, hydrogen, LNG, as well as green ammonia.
On the supply side, green maritime fuel is currently limited and unstable, and prices are high. Our country is a major producer of some green maritime fuels, such as green methanol. On the demand side, there are over 100,000 ocean-going vessels worldwide, with a very low proportion equipped for using green maritime fuels, excluding biodiesel. Considering new vessel orders, it is projected that by 2030, only about 1.4% of vessels will be equipped for green maritime fuels. As international shipping standards continue to tighten, we believe the demand for green maritime fuel will continue to grow. The production and bunkering of green maritime fuel require transportation and storage. Despite the difference in production methods, the processes are more or less the same as traditional fuels. Many green maritime fuels are flammable, toxic, or corrosive, and they generate less energy per unit compared to traditional maritime fuel. Therefore, transportation, storage, and bunkering equipment often need retrofitting or customization. These are important considerations in developing green maritime fuel bunkering. Located as the southern tip of South China, Hong Kong is well positioned as a major global bunkering center, ranking 7th in the world in 2023. That same year, 22.5% of ocean-going vessels coming to Hong Kong primarily did so for bunkering, averaging 4 stops or visits per year. Based on this, we anticipate to provide bunkering services for 60 times to ocean-going vessels powered by green fuels by 2030, involving more than 200,000 tons of green fuel. With the support of our country and the fact that mainland is a major producer for various green maritime fuels, Hong Kong enjoys an advantage in building a stable supply chain. Also, Hong Kong's free flow of capital allows enterprises to settle payment immediately after green maritime fuel deliveries and provide supporting professional services facilitating green maritime fuel-related transactions. These factors are beneficial for Hong Kong's development as a premier green fuel bunkering center in the region. Hong Kong's robust financial system, favorable business environment, and credible regulatory framework in line with international standards make it an ideal international green maritime fuel trading center. To implement Hong Kong's vision as a quality green maritime fuel bunkering center, our action targets include adhering to the emissions reduction targets set by IMO. By 2026, reduced carbon emissions from Hong Kong registered ships by at least 11% compared to 2019, and ensuring 55% of government fleet switch to using green maritime fuel subject to fuel availability. By 2030, reduce carbon emissions from Kuaiting container terminals by 30% compared to 2021, with 7% of Hong Kong registered ships to take up green maritime fuels. To this end, we have formulated 5 key strategies for developing green maritime fuel bunkering, including green fuels, green port, green incentives, green collaboration, and green expertise, and have proposed 10 actions. Action 1. Currently, there is no consensus on which green maritime fuel should be favored within the industry, and ship retrofitting and building require significant investments. It is anticipated that the green maritime fuel market will develop in multiple directions. Like other major ports, Hong Kong must develop a variety of green maritime fuel bunkering options. Starting from this year, we will encourage the industry to supply and use biodiesel and complete the code of practice for LNG bunkering, aiming for the first ship-to-ship LNG bunkering by mid-2025. By 2025, we will also finalize the code of practice for green methanol bunkering and begin a feasibility study on green ammonia and hydrogen bunkering in Hong Kong. We will closely monitor the market for potential new fuels and prepare to adopt early. Action 2. As the development of green maritime fuels around the world is still in its infancy, supply remains limited and cost is high, which may lead to short-term undersupply of green maritime fuels. The government will actively foster the conclusion of green maritime fuel offtake agreements within green fuel suppliers and shipping companies. From 2025, we will sign memoranda of understanding with stakeholders interested in developing green maritime fuel bunkering and related business in Hong Kong, providing collaboration platforms and facilitation measures to establish effective supply chains and trading channels. This will allow us to organically develop into a green maritime fuel trading market. Next year, we will launch a green maritime fuel bunkering incentive scheme to subsidize upfront investments in green fuel bunkering, encouraging early movers to start green maritime fuel bunkering in Hong Kong. Action 3. Green maritime fuel bunkering involves multiple aspects. We will support the industry and provide facilitation measures across different aspects. As mentioned, we can import green maritime fuel from the mainland. Regarding storage, the government will promote storage facilities for different green maritime fuels, exploring options for refueling ships with LNG via offshore LNG terminals without compromising power supply. For green methanol, a suitable site in Tsing South has been identified for a methanol storage depot. We expect that in 2025, we will invite expression of interest within the industry. The planning process will follow, and the site will be released to the market in due course. Administrative support will also be provided to companies interested in modifying oil bunkering centers or build new storage facilities. As for anchorages and sheltered spaces for barges for green maritime fuel bunkering, the Marine Department is working with the project teams to rezone the anchorages with a target to complete the legislative exercise by 2026. In terms of regulatory frameworks, the shipping legislation, use of fuels and miscellaneous amendments ordinance 2024 has been enacted, enabling the safe use of green maritime fuels in Hong Kong waters. It will come into operation on the 10th of January 2025. The Marine Department will also complete and promulgate the codes of practice for LNG and green methanol in 2024 and 2025, respectively. Action 4. This year, the Marine Department will establish a dedicated task force to provide one-stop service for green shipping-related organizations interested in establishing a presence in Hong Kong, as well as clear basic requirements and guidelines for applicants interested in green maritime fuel bunkering, improving the efficiency and transparency of the approval process. Action 5. Container terminal operators in Kuaiting have been have already implemented measures to reduce carbon emissions, aiming to reduce emissions by 30% by 2030 compared to 2021, and to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. The government will continue to keep in close liaison with port operators to encourage them to prepare for Hong Kong's participation in green shipping corridors. Action 6. The government will lead by example, promoting the green transformation of its fleet. The Marine Department will establish an interdepartmental working group this year to explore and enhance the understanding of the technological developments in relation to green fuel-powered vessels regularly, and will, in 2026, explore the amendments of the relevant procurement policy so that such ships will have to be replaced with green fuel-powered ones upon decommissioning. The Marine Department target to order the first batch of green methanol-powered vessels within 2027 so as to launch the pilot schemes for government fleet to start using green methanol-powered vessels. Action 7. Given the substantial expenses involved in green transformation, the government will provide financial support. The EEB has already set up a new energy transport fund to subsidize the trialing of green innovations, including new energy ships. In 2025, we will announce the reduction of port dues and registration fees for green fuel-powered vessels. We will also study providing exemptions or tax exemptions for green methanol imported for bunkering. As the trade of green maritime fuel is a type of commodity trade, it will benefit from support measures for creating a commodity trading ecosystem. Action 8. Green maritime fuel-powered ships are expected to be larger than existing vessels, and some gaseous fuels require low-temperature storage and pre-bunkering preparations, leading to longer bunkering time. To avoid congestion, the Marine Department will formulate and promulgate a plan by 2025 to give priority access to Hong Kong port facilities for green fuel-powered vessels. The Marine Department will also enhance publicity and encourage companies of Hong Kong registered ships to use green maritime fuels and promote green-friendly port arrangements. Action 9. Hong Kong will actively collaborate with the mainland and other countries to develop green maritime fuel bunkering. We will seek collaboration over fuel supply, transport and distribution, bunkering operation, technical exchange, and manpower training. Many major ports in the world have established green shipping corridors. These ports take measures to ensure that the corridors can support low-carbon or zero-carbon operation of vessels traveling along them. Our aim is to identify at least one suitable port for developing a green shipping corridor with Hong Kong by 2026 and kickstart the relevant discussion. We will also consider joining existing green shipping corridors between other ports. Action 10. Lastly, the government supports training talent in green maritime fuel-related fields. In addition to encouraging local academic institutions to provide English courses in this area, by 2025, we will expand the Maritime and Aviation Training Fund to cover international or mainland green maritime fuel-related courses. We aim to train 50 talents in relation to green maritime fuels by early 2026. We will launch a new subsidy scheme to help Hong Kong develop into a training center on green maritime fuel in the region next year. To meet short-term development needs, the government will continue to facilitate the entry of different talents into Hong Kong through various schemes.
We would like to make use of this action plan to set clear targets and directions. We'll work together with stakeholders in the sector to build Hong Kong into a prime green maritime fuel bunkering center. We will also enhance Hong Kong's status as a green-friendly port, as well as to build a green fuel trading center. The Maritime Week this year will start this weekend. The theme of this year is navigating to a greener future. I think this ties in with our vision to build Hong Kong into a green maritime fuel bunkering center. We expect to hear comments from stakeholders over the Maritime Week. We look forward to their views on the experience and their comments in relation to green transformation. Now the floor is open for questions. Please don't ask more than 2 questions. Identify your media outlet before you ask those questions, please. The reporter in black at the front. I'm from Mingpao. First, in relation to supply, Shanghai and Shenzhen have ports developing the green fuel bunkering. What is Hong Kong's advantage to get collaborations with different parties? Does it mean that we have to offer a higher price to attract suppliers to come to Hong Kong? What about expenditure? After taking that away, do we make a profit? How do you ensure stable supply and to maintain Hong Kong's competitiveness? In Tsing South, there will be a facility for storage. In central waters and other places, there will also be anchorages. What is the capacity? How much is the volume? How many berths are there? When will they be commissioned? When will be the first time when a vessel can receive green fuel bunkering? Are there KPIs? How many vessels do you expect to attract to come to Hong Kong for bunkering service? Have you conducted any assessments? How many vessels need to come to Hong Kong to bring economic benefits? There is a very interesting goal. By 2026, there will be 50 people trained. It takes 2 years to train 50 people. Isn't it a bit conservative? What is the reason behind the low number? Are you concerned that there will be manpower shortage and in the face of a huge demand? As a result, Hong Kong will lag behind? You've asked a number of questions. In terms of manpower training, I'll defer to the Commissioner. Regarding questions about berths, I will defer to the Director. Hong Kong's advantage when it comes to green maritime fuel. Hong Kong ranked 7th in terms of a traditional fuel bunkering service. We have a geographical advantage. We also have an advantage in terms of fuel supply. We are attractive to ocean-going vessels. %22 of ocean-going vessels come to Hong Kong for bunkering services. This shows that Hong Kong has advantage in this aspect. In terms of green fuel or new forms of energy, the mainland is a major source of supply. The ports in the mainland may be a supply location, but now that we have positioned ourselves in this way, there will be an increase in our capacity. We are confident that mainland suppliers will be able to give us the supply we need. We need to make sure that there will be a stable supply. Under the action plan, you will find initiatives in relation to incentive schemes for bunkering services. If they come to Hong Kong to use our service, we will reduce the registration fees and port dues. These are ways for us to attract vessels to come to Hong Kong. As long as we have quality service in supply, they will come. We will look into the possibility of offering tax concessions in relation to methanol. We want to make our supply attractive. We want to provide incentives. These are ways for us to attract vessels to come to Hong Kong for bunkering services. You asked about KPI. This is only a starting point. We don't have a crystal ball. We can't tell how many vessels will come to Hong Kong because of green maritime fuel bunkering service. But as I said, we rank quite high in terms of being a major bunkering service center, so we are confident. I would like to defer to the Director to answer questions about berths and the Commissioner to answer questions in relation to training of manpower. You asked a question about anchorages. It's not the case that we want to change the number of anchorages. You mentioned about Lama South as well as Central Waters. And these are already anchorages. But we will review the different areas and conduct a risk assessment. We want to look into possible impact of a new energy storage facilities to the surrounding environment. It's not the case that we want to increase the number of anchorages. It's just that in relation to the anchorages in Central Waters and south of Lama, we will conduct an assessment.
Regarding training of talent, as green maritime fuel bunkering in terms of operation is different from that of traditional fuel bunkering. I've talked about the characteristics and the risks of maritime fuels that are different from traditional fuels. So seafarers need to undergo new training. In the Greater Bay Area, we have identified 8 programs that are suitable. They cover courses on using low flashpoint fuel. We have identified such programs so practitioners can undergo further training in the Greater Bay Area. After that, they will be equipped to handle green maritime fuels. We will also improve the courses under the Maritime and Aviation Training Fund so that it will cover international and mainland courses. We need time to train our talents. In the interim, the trade may make use of our labor importation schemes. Thank you. Next question. This female journalist in glasses, please.
The government wants to switch 55% of the diesel-fueled vessels to green maritime fuels by 2026. What are the difficulties and are there enough green maritime fuels available? How to ensure stable supply and competitiveness of the fuel? And regarding the port in Tsing South, is there any KPI? How many ships do you want to bring to Hong Kong and how many economic revenues it will bring? And what kind of training will there be to nurture talent in the field of green maritime fuels? Thank you.
For the first part of the question, I would pass to Director of Marine to respond. For the second part of the question relating to the economic benefits and the number of ships that will be attracted to call on Hong Kong for bunkering services. As you know, Hong Kong is already a bunkering center. In the world, we rank number 7. So that means that there are quite a number of advantages that we are offering to ocean-going ships. We are located strategically important, and we have frequent international risks. And we have steady supply of the fuel. Against this background, we consider that if we provide one more alternative or a few more alternatives of other green maritime fuel, Hong Kong is equally attractive to other ocean-going ships. And at the present moment, we do not have any forecast on the economic benefits. But one of the side benefits of attracting ships to use our bunkering services is that apart from using our bunkering services, there will be opportunities for them to use our cargo handling. And there are also opportunities for them to use the Hong Kong maritime services as well. So this would be added values for Hong Kong to ensure that we are maintained as the international maritime center. So for the first part of the question, I will pass to Director of Marine.
Thank you, Secretary. Thanks for the question, and I think I would like to address your first part of your question, where you're asking about the difficulties of using the green fuel for existing government fleet. As you may be aware that the engine, at the time that when the engine was designed and when the engine was installed on the vessel for the service, it is designed for a particular type of fuel only. So typically, as an example, for the time being, if a ship is using a diesel engine, it is not that easy. You just pump in the LNG or you pump in the methanol and then you let the engine go. So the first difficulty would be the use of the engine, which is at the time of the design is already been tailor-made for a particular type of fuel. Secondly is regarding the engine type as well, because I mean by large, the government vessels using the diesel engine and the petrol engine. For the use of the petrol engine is using the petroleum, and that is not easy or that is not that straightforward that you can use other alternative fuel to replace the petrol engine. For the diesel fuel, however, is more easy, or at least it's feasible and be able to handle at this stage where it can mix with the biofuel. And be honest, I mean, for the time being, there are, or I would put it in this way, is that the several government vessels have already using biofuel for their diesel engine. And for the time being, the number of diesel-propelled vessel for the government fleet is around about 166 vessels. And many of them already using the biofuel. And that's why we are confident that by 2026, we believe that those 166 government vessels be able, at least 55% of these vessels will be able to use the biofuel as the green fuel propulsion fuel system. I think thank you for the for your question.
Next question. The gentleman in pale blue shirt. Good afternoon. I'm from Cable. There are reports saying that the throughput of container terminal ranks are not top 10 in the world. Upon promulgation of the action plan on green maritime fuel bunkering, how effective is it in attracting more vessels to come to Hong Kong? In July, there was a LNG bunkering terminal that has been commissioned. Is there any deficiency that needs improvement? so that we can learn from it when we build other bunkering centers. There are two parts to your question. First, in December last year, we promulgated the action plan on ports development. We are working in two different directions. First of all, we want to enhance Hong Kong's position as an international shipping center by enhancing our competitiveness. We want to create a green and smart ports, and we're trying to draw for more cargoes. As for green ports and bunkering services, these are the key elements of our plan. Also, we have to enhance our value-added services, for example, vessel management, registration, and maritime law, as well as arbitration, insurance, so on and so forth. By this, we will have a more vibrant maritime ecosystems. Bunkering services and maritime services complement each other. We are here to talk about the action plan on green maritime fuel bunkering. That's part of our plan for development of our ports. We are transforming because we have to meet the net zero carbon emission goal of IMO by 2050. Many ship companies have to revamp or retrofit their ships. So that the ships can receive fuels other than diesel fuels. And some of them are using dual fuel engine. If you refer to the action plan, you'll be able to see that less than 2% of our local vessels can use green maritime fuels. But I believe that the figure will go up rapidly. And I think that we have to catch up. Apart from traditional diesel fuels, we want to provide more choices for ship companies. We have biofuels, liquefied natural gas, and methanol, as well as ammonia and hydrogen. As you can see from the action plan, we're studying on the use of different fuels. We want to attract more vessels to visit Hong Kong. We ranked at 7th in terms of international shipping center, with just offering traditional fuel. If we are able to offer more types of fuels, then we will be able to attract more vessels to come to Hong Kong for bunkering services or cargo services. As I said, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know how many more vessels will come in the future, but I think that we have to do our part first. One more point. Apart from coming to Hong Kong for bunkering services, ship companies or vessels may come to Hong Kong to use our maritime services or cargo terminals. And we may also become a bunkering maritime fuel trading center. Vessels may also use our financial services. These are beneficial to our economy.
In relation to the question of the natural gas bunkering station, the two power companies switched to natural gas for power generation. So the natural gas terminal was one for receiving natural gas coming from outside Hong Kong for power generation. We are looking into the possibility of using this service, this facility, for bunkering purpose. We are conducting studies. Next question. The lady at the front. Hong Kong 01. Regarding green fuel, well, we don't know much about it. So apart from biodiesel that can be used directly on existing diesel vessels, what about other types of fuels? Do we need retrofitting, or do we need to build new facilities on the vessels? There is a goal in the action plan that 55% of diesel fuel vessels in the government fleet will be switched to green fuels. Currently, there are 10 using green fuels. And there is also a target of net zero carbon emission and 2050, 7% of Hong Kong registered ships to take up green fuels by 2030. Well, there are some grand targets. What do you say about that? There is keen competition coming from neighboring ports. There is also a drop in the throughput of Hong Kong container terminal. Well, you're saying that bunkering service in Hong Kong is already quite good. You want to do better. Does it mean that there will be a restructuring of our port services to switch to bunkering services in order to enhance our competitiveness? I will answer part of the first question. The director will supplement. There are different types of fuels. One is biodiesel, and the other one is liquefied natural gas, LNG. These are transitional measures. In the end, there will be green methanol, green ammonia, or hydrogen. As to which product will prevail, we don't know. It depends on the performance of these different types of fuel. The director will supplement. The other part of your question is about the throughput of our container terminal. In answer to a question asked by another reporter, I've already mentioned about this. We want to make use of smart measures and green measures to enhance our competitiveness. We also work to attract more users. We want to attract vessels through the multimodal transshipment service, working with Yantian and other ports. We're also working with Guangdong West and other places to attract more demand. We have smart port initiatives. We would like to enhance our efficiency of communications and flow of information up and downstream. We want to cover more types of services. Through the various smart measures, we aim to enhance our efficiency, thereby increasing our competitiveness. Our bunkering service of traditional fuel is already very popular. We would like to offer more choices to vessels. That is one of the ways for us to increase our competitiveness. But it doesn't mean that we only focus on one area. We have our fingers in different pies to enhance our competitiveness. We aim to provide high-quality, value-adding maritime service. The different maritime services are interlinked. We want these services to be complementary to one another. For the other part, I would defer to the director. Thank you. Thank you for the question. You've asked a technical question. Manufacturers are working very hard on research and development. There are machines that are of high speed, medium speed. There are many different types of machines. The progress of development differ. The IMO's requirements does not involve success overnight. The IMO has made requirements by phases. By 2030, it will be a reduction of 20%, and there will be increase to 30%. At the end, that is by 2050, they hope to achieve a net zero carbon emission as their target. You asked about registration. Does it mean that 7% of Hong Kong registered ships are taking up green fuels by 2030? Is it a bit aggressive? The IMO's requirements are 5 to 7%. We ask for 7%. We have aimed higher. That is a target we would like to reach to protect our environment. You asked about dual fuel. Some machines can be converted this way, but not all of it. We're talking to different manufacturers. Regarding the government fleet, we use biofuel. Talking about biofuel, we can change the mix of diesel. The higher the ratio of biofuel, the lower the carbon emission. What we want to do is that by 2026, 50% of existing diesel vessels will use green maritime fuel. That's all I'd like to add. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Thank you for attending. Goodbye.